Hi, my name's Brett Kuhn, and I wanted to talk about meditation and what it's all about. A friend of mine is going through a tough time physically, and so I wanted to offer something to him, and I wanted to put this out there for anyone else who is interested. And before I actually do a meditation itself, I wanted to just describe what meditation is and take the myth out of it that says that it's hard to do or I can't do it or only certain people could do it. I would say probably the biggest question that gets asked of me, or maybe the biggest comment that's said to me, is I don't know how to meditate because I'm not able to still my mind. So, what I'd like to say about that is the mind is naturally active, and depending on the studies that you hear or read, we have about 60,000 to 120,000 thoughts a day. So literally we're having a thought going on every single second. And the thoughts in and of themselves are not bad or wrong. But if we begin to not be conscious of the thoughts and they're dictating how we live our lives, or if we believe the thought to be true in any way, then of course it's going to impact our lives. And that's one of the things that meditation is able to do. As you begin to observe the thoughts and realize that we are not our thoughts, but it's just the mind being busy, then peace can be had literally in any situation. You can experience peace. And so that to me is one of the core thrusts behind meditation and what it teaches and how it helps us to just be in the world. Um, I've been meditating for 28 years now, and many of those years I've taught and I've studied a lot of different types of meditations. There's plenty of good ones out there. Certainly the one that I'm teaching is, I'm not going to say is the way. It's, to me, it's the easiest one to learn. It's also the easiest one to teach, and that is mindfulness meditation, where you're simply being aware of your breath. And so that is one of the ways that I like to teach it because it's easily understood by people. And also the nice thing about the breath is the breath happens all by itself. You don't have to do anything. And one of the things about meditation is we want to get away from the doingness, the trying, the effort. All we're simply doing is just simply being aware of the breath. We're sitting and we're just noticing. We're being aware of the breath. That's it. That's all meditation is. And so when we're sitting, we're going to just watch and notice the breath as it comes in and out, and you don't need to do anything with the breath. Like I said, it'll happen all by itself. So as the breath comes in and out, you just simply observe it. That's all. You just simply notice it. And in that noticing, we begin to connect with that deeper truth of who we are, which is the one watching this whole movie called life. But a lot of times, because we're not watching and we're believing the thoughts and we're being pulled into the drama of the thoughts, then all of a sudden we become a character in the movie. We're going to just take a step back and we're simply going to observe. We're simply going to watch and observe the breath. That's all we're doing. And so you're going to have thoughts. You're going to have lots of them, and you don't need to try to not have thoughts. So that is definitely going to be contradictory to what you want to accomplish, because the more you try to not think, the mind's just going to get busier and busier, and you don't want to get in a fight with the mind or the thoughts because you're not going to win the battle. So you can let yourself off the hook as far as having thoughts. You don't need to try to still your mind. Stillness will begin to happen naturally as you begin to become aware of just the thoughts and observe them and not make them bad or wrong. Okay, that's super important, is not to make the thoughts bad or wrong. So if you're having thoughts and you say, oh man, I hate this guy, he's such an idiot, and then another part of your mind might say, now Brett, that's just not nice, that's not spiritual, whatever stories we want to have in our head, and consequently we end up beating ourselves up for beating ourselves up, because we're thinking we shouldn't be thinking that way, but we're thinking that way, so then we're getting on our case for thinking that way. So it's just a crazy, vicious cycle unless we break the cycle. And that's one of the things that meditation has the capacity to do. meditation, as you do it, really, honestly, like I said, it's effortless and it's joyful as long as you're not fighting against it. Some people are trying so hard to have a good meditation. Let go of that. Let go of any agenda of what you think is good or bad, because as you will discover more and more through meditation is that you begin to move beyond the good, bad, right, or wrong. You begin to move beyond the duality of the mind, and that's how you're able to discover peace. I think Rumi said a quote. Let me see if I get the quote right. Beyond the field of wrongdoings and right doings um, is a field. I will meet you there. Something to that effect. But basically, Rumi was the mystic poet was speaking to moving beyond the mind, moving into this deeper truth of who we are that is beyond mind, that is beyond thought. When you move into that place, literally, peace is possible at any time. So that's what this meditation is about. And as you begin to practice meditation more and more, you you begin to experience how it seeps into your everyday life, and you begin to understand that life is a meditation because you're just really observing all of it. It's only when we're pulled into the drama of all the thoughts running in the background unconsciously guiding us, saying this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, and we get into all these fights within our heads or with other people, all based on these belief systems. So meditation is really just a beautiful way of coming to a place of peace with our thoughts, not making them bad or wrong, not trying to push them away. A lot of times when people are having thoughts, they'll try to get rid of it. You don't need to get rid of it. All you simply need to do is just become aware of it. And when you become aware of it, just let it pass on by. Just let it pass on by. You don't need to hold on to it. You don't need to figure out what the thought means or analyze it or any of that. That all puts you in your head. We want to just begin to move beyond the head and into something deeper within yourself where there's that peace that resides. So let me think if there's anything else to say about meditation. I can say for me, I love meditating. It's not an effort at all. It's something that I truly enjoy. And if I don't do it, I can feel cranky. I can feel edgy because somehow, some way, I begin to start buying into certain beliefs that are running in the background, and I'm not being conscious or aware of them. As compared to when I'm meditating, I become aware of these thoughts. It's like, oh, okay, I see this, I've got this going on about money, that I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough money. Can I just notice that thought? That the thought that says, I need more money to be happy. And just let it pass on through. Again, you don't need to analyze or figure it out. I see, I need to really improve on this relationship before I can be happy. Just notice that thought, let it pass on through. You will see that eventually you come to a place where you just see that everything is the way it needs to be. You don't need to fight life. And I've heard, many of the, I guess you would call it awakened teachers, I've heard them say that the main reason for stress is we're wanting life to be different than what it is. The main stress is that we're wanting life to be different than what it is. What if you weren't trying to fight against life or to change life? And I'm not saying you can't make changes in your life, but if we're acting from a place of fear or anger or judgment, and we're acting out of that place, it's been my experience that those things are a lot of times contradictory to what we really want to accomplish. But if we're coming from that place of peace and acceptance, like we're accepting this, even though it's a challenge, but we're accepting it, we're not fighting against it, then there's something that can react that comes from a deeper place within us. And it comes from a place of wisdom. We're acting out of wisdom and compassion and love. So those are all things that naturally come about from meditation as well. I would say that you can be spiritual or not spiritual. Either way is okay. I love my spiritual life, but I've seen teachers that don't believe in God, that are able to begin to be aware that they're not their thoughts or their mind either, or their body. And the more we can recognize these things, just the easier life gets. So how often do you meditate? Generally, when I'm teaching, I suggest people begin to create a habit. I would suggest you meditate for 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes every day for the first week, and then move into 10 minutes, and then the third week 15 minutes, and then the fourth week 20 minutes. 20 minutes is really a good meditation time, and certainly you're always welcome to go longer. It's always beneficial to go longer. But ideally, if you can meditate 20 minutes 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening, then you begin to lock in that what would I say, that kind of that state of being that you experience from meditation, where you begin to experience more of a calmness and not fighting against life and just observing life rather than being pulled into the drama of life. So 20 minutes 3 times a day would be ideal. With that said, you have to come to terms with what works best for you, and it's different for everybody. Some people are going to be ready to dive in right off the bat and are going to want to do 20 minutes 3 times a day. Great. But it's also great if you want to just get started, and it means that just doing 5 minutes a day is the way that you can best get started. Whatever you do, it's my suggestion that you commit for doing it every day for 90 days. And the reason I say 90 days is because you want to get this rooted in your system as a healthy habit. And the more you do that, then it's going to be something where you get up in the morning, and that's, to me, the best time to meditate is, I like to just shower and get ready and then take some time to meditate, and it begins to create a habit in our lives. I think sometimes too people will say, I don't have the time. My wife used to say that a long time ago. She would say, yeah, I'm just feeling frustrated and disappointed. I've got things going on. And I would say, would you be willing to meditate? And she's like, I don't have time for meditating. But then she would do it anyhow, and she would come down and she would feel so good. And it's true for all of us. If we can just really just take the time to meditate, then we realize, wow, you know what? All of a sudden I feel like I have the time. All of a sudden I feel like life is flowing in a better direction. It really makes such a huge difference. It's such a gift. It's such a gift. So that's the reason I'm sharing this video, is because for me, it's transformed my life in so many ways. Yes, I do have my challenges, but they last a shorter period of time, and I have many more up moments than I do down moments. And there's moments where I'm just completely at peace with my life, with the world, and it seems to be happening more and more. So, and it's not because I'm special or something like that. Every single person has the same ability to connect with that deeper truth of who they are. And that's why I love teaching meditation, because it's changed my life, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt there is not any person that it can't change their life if they explore with it enough. And I'll leave my, you can respond on this YouTube video if you want, and I'll check it occasionally. So if you have questions that pop up, you want to learn more about it, or you're struggling with something, let me know. There's no reason to struggle with it. There really isn't. And usually when we're struggling, it's just a simple thought change. It's like, I'm getting really bored. If you hear that thought, I'm getting really bored, just simply notice that thought. Okay? It's just a thought. It's just the mind being busy. It's the mind needing something different than that experience. But when you begin to get in touch with that's just a thought, all of a sudden the issue of boredom begins to fall away. You might say, oh boy, I hear so much noise in the background. Notice that thought. That's all. Just simply be aware of that thought. Don't make it bad or wrong. You're just noticing it, and as soon as you notice it, you just simply come back to observing the breath again. The mind can be very tricky, and so there can be pitfalls along the way. That's why I said I'm happy to help. But, some of the things that you might run into is you might say, wow, my mind is super busy today. This is a really bad meditation. That is just a thought too. And I have actually experienced at times where my mind has been super busy, and it's been some of the best meditations I've had, because when your mind is busy and you can still come fully back to the present moment, back to the breath and just observing the breath, there's energy that is being moved. There's healing that's taking place. So it can be very beautiful, particularly when you're very distracted and a lot of things are going on. You sit down to meditate, your mind's going crazy. Just begin to watch it. Watch the breath. Let those thoughts pass away. Don't fight them or try to get rid of them or push them away. And just notice the breath. And each time the thought drags you off, it might drag you off for a minute. It might drag you off for a half hour. It doesn't matter. Even if it goes for a half hour, and then all of a sudden you have the awareness, oh, okay, I see I drifted off and I was caught into that thought stream. As soon as you have that awareness, just simply come back to the breath. Meditation is a good thing. It's a good thing because it transforms lives. And there's a lot of different healing modalities out there, and I'm sure many of you that are watching this have explored many of them. I've explored many of them myself. I would say this about meditation is there's a lot of healing modalities that will, let's say, handle issue by issue. As if the tree represents all of this. The issues are each branch of the tree, so you cut off one branch here, one branch there, you cut off 3 or 4 branches, but all of a sudden, maybe 4 or 5 other branches are growing back in the meantime because other issues are popping up. With meditation, it's different in the aspect that as you really begin to I guess the best word I can think of is begin to understand what meditation is. And I don't know if anyone ever fully understands it, because there's always this growth and expansion with it. But as you begin to understand it better, you see that you can actually take the tree and remove it right from the root, rather than cutting off each branch of the tree, each issue by issue. And so what I mean by removing the tree from the root is actually going beyond the mind, where you're so perfectly okay with whatever thought, whatever feeling comes up. You're just observing it all. And when you get to that place where you're just observing it all, you don't need to get rid of all your issues. You just simply notice them, and they begin to fall away easier and easier, because you understand, you realize that you are not your mind and you are not your thoughts. The more you have that realization, life gets so much easier, and there's this beautiful freedom that comes along with it. I feel like that's about it. That's all I want to share. Like I said, I'm happy to help anybody that would like to have more information. My next video, I guess I'll label this episode 1, and episode 2 will be on actually doing a 20-minute meditation, where we will go through some guided meditation, and then we'll allow some space for just being still and watching the breath and observing the thoughts as they come up as well. Okay, namaste. I sincerely wish you well, and if there's any way I can support you, please let me know. Thank you so much.